Hey there, Roberto here. Jason Criddle of Smartr Marketing is my guest for this episode. We talk about sales as a core function of any business, app-based referral marketing, and the importance of content creation. Let's do this. This was the Partner for Leads podcast. Partner for Leads, that is, has come to a bittersweet end. It's going away. Over 10 years ago, the founding team and I put together a truly innovative solution for managing referral leads groups. Alas, we never found the truly secret sauce to scalability nor sustainability. This is all to say that this podcast is parting ways with the Partner for Leads brand. I'm still contemplating a new brand and a new theme, so the podcast will continue. I'm thinking of something theme-wise that is at the intersection of business and creativity, so stay tuned for that. And if you have any suggestions or ideas for a new name for this podcast, please let me know. You can find my contact info at morningtempo.com. Okay, on to the interview portion of the show. Lifetime compensation of multi-level marketing models and the opportunity to work with a multi-level marketing company is what brought Jason to where he is today. His company reached out to me to pitch a product called the Smartr Marketing App and an opportunity to earn a little cash for my podcast. Only marginally skeptical, I did look him up and thought, this guy looks kind of interesting. So I reached out and we scheduled this conversation that you're about to hear. He's located near my hometown of origin in the DFW Metroplex, that's Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. The Smartr Marketing App wanted to create a MLM-type compensation without all the drawbacks of pay-to-sell models, unfavorable contracts, non-competes, complicated systems, as Jason puts it. He's a bright guy whose company is doing a lot of different things. They are in the process of niching it all down, though, and I love that. Jason's a millennial with a passion for helping entrepreneurs and business-minded individuals succeed. Here is me and Jason Criddle. So Jason, thank you very much for spending time with me this Friday morning as we record this, and please extend my thanks to your team member, Jessica Foster, for the introduction.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You are, as we were discussing pre-record here, located very near my hometown of Fort Worth, Texas, and sounds like you grew up there and you've got a lot of different exciting things going on. So I want to try to cover the new things I discovered in our pre-record conversation, but definitely wanted to ask you about the Smartr Marketing App and a lot of the things that revolve around that business. Is the Smartr Marketing App that Jessica had first introduced me to, which has the whole referral component built into it, is that one of your newest products? And what was the evolution for the idea?
Yeah, new product, a new version of a new product. I don't know if that makes sense. If you back up to 2013, 2014, I had the opportunity to work with a ton of different multi-level marketing companies, just trying to help promoters understand the value of their compensation program and how they can use it to build assets. And I discovered that a lot of people didn't really see the numbers. They were out there trying to sell makeup and out there trying to sell candles and whatever they were selling. But I was always just very fascinated with the numbers. There's this little system, and if you work this system, then you can really make a lot of money. And so I didn't understand why people were so focused on the brand. And then I came to understand that people really love the brand. There's a culture behind these brands that drives people to sell them and represent them. And so while I was focusing on the numbers, they were focusing on the product. And then I figured, well, you could take both of these together and you could really make what I call lifetime value. You can get a customer that would be with you for life. You can get a promoter that wants to be with you for life. But I did not like a lot of the things that multi-level marketing had going on, like you have to pay in order to participate. I don't have to pay monthly in order to sell something. I can sell something all day, and I might not need that product, but I can definitely sell it. I didn't like the contracts that came along with it. I didn't like the fact that you had to sign a no-compete. I didn't like the fact that you had to learn this complicated system. There just had to be a much better way to get this point delivered to people and give people the ability to utilize a multi-level compensation program, but just get rid of a lot of the negative traits that keep somebody from signing up with that company. In 2015, we created the Smartr App company. In 2016, we put out our first app. It was horrendous. It was just a marketplace that allowed us to tested our theory. We had some people interested in the software. We never sold anything in the marketplace. I think we might have made like $6 or something. And so we had customers that said, hey, well, if you can make this software for me, I'll use it. And we kind of started there and came out with a couple of new versions. And our newest, prettiest, safest, most secure, most scalable version just came out a couple of weeks ago. But it really just allows people to focus on, I told you I was listening to your episode with Jason Resnick, and that episode was all about word of mouth marketing. And so I feel that it's just something that we're doing all the time, and we've been doing it for decades. But my software gives people the ability to not just get paid for this word of mouth marketing that we're always doing, but a simple tool to keep track of it. If you have a brand, I'm talking to my friends about your brand, then I just tell my friends to download your app. I share my referral code with them. And then whenever they make some purchases, I make money. And then I can do that with any brand that I wish, as long as they're using the software. So that's where it came from. It's been around for a little while, but we're very proud of the newest version that's come out. It's a lot more user friendly, and like I said, it's really pretty. We were trying to make it pretty this time.
That's cool, and it's all about iterations in the software world. A couple things. Jason Resnick, I'm really glad that you listened to that episode. He's been on the podcast a couple of times. He's a really smart guy. I enjoy him a lot. And the other one is I was thinking as we were getting closer to doing what we're doing here right now, and I thought, well, this is kind of an irony and a neat little twist. And one of the reasons I had Jason on to talk about word of mouth marketing, because Partner for Leads originated out of helping small businesses who were in these referral leads groups. And just the little irony twisting was the whole referral component. It's a basis of everything that you do with the app. I would love to ask now, knowing just a little bit about you from what I've read and learning a lot more just talking with you a couple of minutes before we got started here, but how did you find yourself involved in apps and software and web development, those kind of things?
Yeah, if you back up a little bit further, I found my way in sales, and it was on accident. I started as an entrepreneur when I was a teenager. Didn't realize that I was in the business of sales. Once you get up to 2011, 2012, I became a personal trainer and a nutritionist. I started helping a lot of people lose a lot of weight, kept track of everything, kept track of all my clients. Eventually got to the point to where I was able to tell people that I had helped 500 people lose about 9,000 pounds. And
that's great.
And all this experience was from losing it myself. Whenever I started in the training game, I weighed 400 pounds. And so I had to lose weight myself. And I discovered that a lot of trainers weren't as good at getting results as me. And it wasn't anything bad about the trainers. It's more the industry as a whole. A lot of people are following around these trainers that have six packs, but those trainers have no idea how they got the six pack. They grew up playing sports, and then they got into their 20s and they found a career in personal training, but they've always been fit. And so that doesn't mean that they knew how to change a person.
Sure.
And so whenever I got into the industry, having just come from, I had just lost 150 pounds. I eventually lost a total of 200 pounds after I had gotten in, another 50 pounds after I had gotten into training. But then whenever I was training, I came up with a couple of different methodologies to really get a client to purchase training. And I realized at that time that this same method that I was using, I had been applying it to every sale that I had made over the course of my entire life. I just had never thought about it from the sales perspective. And that method was being a good, bright, honest leader and making sure a client understands that they have a problem and I have a solution, and that if we work together, then we can solve that problem together. And so after I left the training realm because I got introduced to a multi-level marketing company, and then I realized, wow, I'm really good at sales. Okay, so I can teach people sales, and I kind of started teaching business owners how to build their brands just based off the things that I was learning. I had written my first book, so I decided to start helping people with their first book. I got my first couple of websites off the ground. I started helping people with websites. Around the time that I started helping people with websites, it was probably the biggest nightmare that I built for myself at the time. I had a team of developers that were selling websites and apps, and then they were building, and I was talking to small business owners and figuring out what they needed. But I never made any money. And the reason is because I would get a client to agree to a website, and we would spend so much time trying to change that website and mold it into this thing that the client wanted. It wasn't something that the client needed, that I eventually just said, look, all the most successful software companies in the world have a product that they focus on. There are no if I want to build this $1 billion thing or this $1 million thing, none of these companies that are out there are building custom software. They have Facebook, they have Snapchat, they have Oracle, they have like a thing, a central core thing that they focus on. So we need to build our central thing. And whenever you look at, from a sales perspective, what my small business owners were doing, the people that I was helping, they're trying to get likes on social media, and they're trying to put out videos and education, and they're trying to write blogs, and they're trying to become popular, and they're trying to show themselves as being an expert. And all that stuff is good. All that stuff helps. But at the end of the day, you're trying to make sales. And if you don't acquire new customers, if you don't acquire new revenue, then how are you going to stay in business? And so since 90% of these small business owners, since 90% of these transactions come from referrals and word of mouth, so let's focus on this core thing and give a customer a tool that will allow their customers, their friends, family, their brand promoters, their salespeople to easily attract clients. And let's not clutter that piece of software with Facebook links and LinkedIn videos and likes and reviews and all these other things that people have become accustomed to that really have nothing to do with a transaction between a business and a customer.
Sure.
Let's make it simple for them. Give me, the promoter, a way to track the people that I'm referring to you and a way to track the money that I'm making, and give you, the business owner, a tool that will allow you to attract more customers. And I mean, that's how we ended up down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and in a big way, you're helping people play in their own and develop their own sandbox or their own ecosystem, and not get too wrapped up in relying on these platforms, the social platforms, which if we hinge too much within them and certain changes happen, we find ourselves in trouble. So that sounds like a great thing. Here's one that's switching gears a little bit. So when your team member Jessica contacted me, by the way, what is her role at Smartr Brands?
She does everything that she's like. You remember in Mission Impossible, whenever Emilio Estevez was on top of the elevator, and he was like the hacker with the glasses that he like runs everything. That's kind of what she reminds me of.
She's a rock star.
We have all this stuff. Exactly, we have all this stuff going on at Smartr. She's the person behind the computer screen that's orchestrating everything.
Okay.
So I couldn't call her an assistant. That would be discounting what she accomplishes for the company.
Yeah, we need to find out what they called what Emilio Estevez title was in the movie, and just give her that. So when she and I spoke, and it may have been kind of specific to engaging me, she mentioned radio shows and podcasts, which makes a lot of sense because she one or both of you had noticed that we had this podcast and the Unstarving Musician podcast, and so there was an apparent target for radio shows and podcasts, and target being for the Smartr Marketing App and some of the other services. Who are and we've talked about sales pros, business owners. Are there other specific targets that we haven't touched on yet that people might be interested in hearing about?
As far as utilizing Smartr Marketing?
Yeah, like your target client base, for instance, is what I was thinking.
Yeah. So the target client base is, well, actually, if I go down that hole, then I'm going to start teaching sales. And so, whenever I talk to somebody who's out there trying to sell Smartr Marketing, I always ask them, who are your prospects? And I usually get an answer like small business owners. Well, no, a prospect is a person who's willing to listen to a sales pitch. And that's what a prospect is. It's not, to say small business owners is a very, very broad term. You have to get specific and you have to work the numbers. And so, you might have to go through 100 small business owners in order to get 6 prospects. So if your prospects are, I guess, small business owners that need a referral system, the reason why we decided to focus on podcasts and radio shows is because in reality, anybody can download Smartr Marketing, get a referral code, share that referral code, and make money whenever a small business owner makes a purchase of the software. So for a podcast or a radio show host, it's perfect because they don't have to do anything and they don't have to pay for anything. All they do is register, get a referral code, and they can make their own commercials. They can plug it and they can say, hey, if you're a small business owner, you need this software, check out Smartr Marketing, use referral code Roberto or Partners for Leads or whatever it is that we set that referral code at. Mm-hmm. But in reality, you can be a nail salon, an AC tech, a lawn service. A consultant is a lot of our customer base. Radio show hosts that do marketing and advertising, and they have sponsorship packages for the guests that are coming on their show. All of these different industries, as long as they sell a product or service, then they can put that product or service in their own marketplace. But then at the same time, any entrepreneur can not only support those brands, because if a nail salon gets their own Smartr app, the nail salon has their own app that's white labeled to them. They have their own network of customers, their own network to do this business. But yeah, we focus specifically on podcasts and radio shows right now, just because as a company, we're trying to get the word out as much as we can. Like, what is the smallest amount of effort that you can put in with the biggest amount of payoff? And that biggest amount of payoff is we decided that, well, podcasts and radio shows, they have listeners. And since they have a big listening audience, and since all the podcast owners are entrepreneurs that are usually looking for more ways to make money out of their shows, then let's knock out this niche first before we go start knocking door to door.
Yep, makes sense. I like it. More people should probably think about that approach.
Yes. And you're exactly right, man.
Yeah. And on the marketing services front, so let's see. I think I wanted to say, I guess I better avoid this because I'm not, okay, the Smartr brands. We'll just call it Smartr brands. Among the Smartr brands and services, and you sort of touched on one of them, or both, but publishing and marketing / branding I think branding too are kind of offered in there. So on the publishing front, does that have anything to do with books, or does it go outside of that? And is that still a focus, or just something that's in the arsenal that has been for a while, and it's there if your clients would like to explore those services with you?
Yes. I've been publishing since I wrote my first book, and then at one point in the Smartr Marketing software, we offered these services, publishing and branding. But then we stopped offering those through Smartr Marketing because in reality, it's my company, it's my brand. So we wanted to focus on just software with Smartr Marketing. That way we take out any confusion and don't overload a client with a bunch of different options who might just be looking at the referral software aspect of things. Mm-hmm. But yes, Jason Criddle, we still publish. We still do branding. And we have customers that we have written books with. We've done ghostwriting for customers. We do a lot of editing, proofreading, and formatting just to get books ready for publishing. But we also help with online content. And so we do social media management. If somebody has a couple of different social media pages and they're trying to look for content to post to their blogs on a daily basis, or look for content or have content posted on their social media, then we do that for them too, all the way from writing keyword-rich content that can be found on search engines to posting it online. So it's not just books. It's anything that has to do with writing. I've found that writing can be very daunting for people. I'm working with one of the Smartr sales teams, and we just created a blog, Smartr Living, and so it's a blog that allows people to go and write, and then we put SEO dollars behind our most popular content, and it's a free resource because I try to teach entrepreneurs that having content online is what makes you a leader online. And so just 2 days ago, I have one of my sales teams, and I asked them to go ahead and write their first blogs. They have none of them. It's a group of 5 people. None of them have ever written a blog post in their life. And I'm like, well, here's the start. Here's the blog. Let's start doing it. And so then I have this group of blogs come through, and, they did really, really well, but kind of missed the point of what the blog is. And so inevitably, all of these posts ended up being just a huge spamming advertisement. And I'm like, no, that's not what blogging is about. Blogging is about sharing your knowledge, educating your readers. We don't need to spam somebody all the time. We just need to put ourselves out there.
I like that, Jason. We just need to spam them some of the time.
We
I'm
just need
kidding.
to spam them some of the time. Well, exactly. Well, I mean, like whenever I go on, if I'm writing a blog, and I threw out there, I was telling them, like, look, I want you guys to write 2 500-word blogs per week. And even though that might seem like a really big deal, well, I write 20,000 words worth of content on blogs a week. My first book was 28,000 words, so I'm almost writing a book a week of content. Mm-hmm. On Quora alone, I've written over 3 million words. And that's just one platform. And so writing is an essential part of being an entrepreneur. Content, blogging, being on radio shows, hosting radio shows. We live in a world where people can Google you. And if people can't Google you, then they're probably not going to work with you.
Right.
If people can't Google you, then they're probably not going to look at you as a leader whenever you're trying to sell that thing that you're trying to sell. Because trust me, if you go up to somebody nowadays and you say, oh, I have this thing that I sell and I can teach you how to be financially independent if you sell it, well, I'm going to look you up and see if you're financially independent before I ever try and sell it for you.
Right.
And so just not only books, not just content, but just free education, trying to teach people the importance of publishing, the importance of getting your word out there. And all the words that we put online, all these blog posts, all these radio shows, they are an extension of who we are. And if somebody, it's not just somebody finding the post, it's somebody seeing the consistency. It's somebody seeing, it gives us a footprint that shows the world that we are working hard at what we're doing. And if we have the ability to build that infrastructure and work hard at what we're doing, then people respect that. My little girl is 9. She has her own podcast on Castbox where she reads children's books.
Oh, nice.
And so whenever people meet her, she always has a book in her hand, and then they say, "Oh, what are you doing, sweetie?" And I'm practicing a book for my podcast. "Oh, you have a podcast? What do you do?" "Oh, I read children's books." And then the conversation kind of stops. And I always want her to be proud of it. And I'm like, "Emma, why don't you tell them how many books that you've read?" And, your average adult, when they hear this little girl has this podcast, they're probably thinking, "Oh, she reads sometimes. She has this little thing that she has like 6 recordings or she's read like 20 books or whatever." She's read almost 600 books on her podcast.
Oh my goodness.
And she's going to be crossing into the 700-800 range by the end of the year.
And you know what I think is kind of funny about that conversation too is that so many of the people that she talks to have heard the word podcast, but they're not sure how to get one. So maybe that's part of her conversation too. Do you listen to podcasts?
Right. But yeah, I mean, and another thing, she's read almost 600 books and she's 9. And I'm like, "Emma, you're going to meet adults throughout your life that have never come close to reading 600 books."
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so these are things this is work that is who you are, that nobody can take away from you. And one of the things that I always try to teach entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to building content online, I'm like, say that business fails. Say you started selling this thing and it goes under. This business goes under. This thing, a law is passed and you're no longer allowed to do that. Whatever the case is, if the money in your wallet ever dries up, it's okay, because the infrastructure that you built online isn't going anywhere.
True.
And so if you have this infrastructure online, if you spend time writing the content, if you spend time making the blog, then that's wealth. And so you have way too many people that are trying to focus on getting rich. Well, getting rich is how much money do you have available in your pocket? Building wealth is what happens if the money goes away? What's left?
Right.
And the internet allows us to build wealth, which to me is vitally important, because the riches can come at any time from the wealth that you've been building for yourself.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning the importance of content creation. It's been a bit of a mission of mine with those who are on my list to talk about their creativity as small business owners, and I wonder, do they hear this enough? because I think that a lot of sales professionals and small business owners kind of just go through the motion of the mechanics of their business, sales, the numbers, all super important stuff, and the creative aspects of doing things like publishing content, writing a blog, writing to your email list, and just writing in general, or putting it on video, it eludes many of them. I feel like most understand there's some importance to it, but it hasn't sunk in enough for many to be motivated to do it. And you framed it very nicely in that more and more people do want to be able to see that they can find you online, and if they can't, they're very likely to do business with someone that they can find and do a little bit of research about. Case in point, when Jessica introduced me to you, I looked at some of the resources she talked about. I read through some of the content you had. I found some more stuff that wasn't mentioned in her email just to see who you are, and there's a lot of nice stuff out there. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I would like to read something.
Go ahead. I went into an office. On Monday and made a partner with Smartr. And it was just a really funny situation. The gentleman was running late to the meeting. He had his assistant meet with me in the conference room. Mm-hmm. The assistant had no idea who I was, and so he's running late to the meeting because he's not really taking it seriously. I guess. I mean, I mean, I guess it happens sometimes in the world that we live in, and so he asked his assistant to give my name again. And she asked me to spell out my last name. She texts him. So he Googles me. And so when he's on his way to work, he looks up Jason Criddle. And he sees this Jason Criddle online that has written books on neuroscience and manifestation. And I've done these podcasts, and I've started these brands, and I've helped people. I've done this stuff. And he told me that he said to himself, well, there's no way that this Jason Criddle is sitting in my office. There's probably some other Jason Criddle that's in the way of me meeting this Jason Criddle that is online. And so whenever he got to the office and saw me sitting in there, he's like, you are that Jason Criddle. I'm so sorry for being late. Let's work together. What can we do? And he told me that he decided to work with me before he met me. Like, once he saw the infrastructure that I had online, he knew at that point he was going to partner with me and work with me in whatever capacity that I needed him to do. So had I not spent the last 6 or 7 years building all that, then that would have made the conversation go completely different. Yeah.
That's a great story. And I think for a lot of people who venture into someone's office for the first time, it's not an unfamiliar scenario where the assistant comes in to talk with you, but thank goodness that someone can research you so quickly and last minute, and that that you had a lot of nice things for them to look up. I'd like to read something from your website, which I guess compelling is a good word, and I just would love it if you could talk a bit about it. So, you are, and here we get to the quote, a millennial business leader with a passion for helping entrepreneurs and business-minded individuals succeed while focusing on the metaphysical and spiritual aspects of what it takes to drive greatness within oneself. Can you talk a little bit about that perspective?
I can spend the next 30 minutes talking about it if you'd like. Wow, yes. I mean, we're going that direction. So it was a fun conversation on Monday. This gentleman met me. He looked at all the stuff that I had online, and he told me that over the course of the last few months, he had started listening to Abraham Hicks, Bob Proctor, Les Brown. He really started focusing on, I guess, what people call the law of attraction and universal laws and going with the flow and all these things. And so whenever he saw that I had written books about this and talked so much about it, it helped him. It showed him that he's on the right path. He's doing the right things. And So it brought up a conversation about the law of attraction. And one of the things that I brought up is the law of attraction doesn't just start existing because you watched The Secret the other day. The law of attraction is what your life is, just like the law of gravity exists regardless if you're thinking about it or not. And so there's this life that we want to live. There's this person that we see in the future. And so whenever we're building company, or whenever we're stepping out to start the podcast, or whenever we want to put together a new educational course in order to teach people these things, there's this future person that we see in our heads, and that future person has accomplished all of these things that we are trying to do. If that future person consists of a whole bunch of check marks that are on a piece of paper, and every single time we check off one of those boxes, we're closer to that person. Well, the interesting thing is that future person is the person right now. But we get caught up in thinking that I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to do this. And then once I do these things, then I am that future person. Well, no, that's not it at all. Once you make the decision to be this person, those things get done, because that future person would not allow these check boxes to not be taken care of. So what it really comes down to, regardless if we are trying to build a company, we're trying to become a better husband, a better father, a better mother, a better best friend, a better brother or sister, that it really comes down to our character. Who do we decide to be on a daily basis? And the funny thing is about this little world that we live in, I was doing a thought experiment with my daughter the other day, and I told her to close her eyes and open them up and look for everything red. And then close her eyes and think of the color yellow, and open it up and open up her eyes and look for the color yellow. And she was fascinated by the fact that if you're looking for the color yellow, you completely overlook every other color. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're looking for this business idea that you came up with to be $1 million thing, then all of a sudden your brain, the universe, it all aligns for you to be able to see the things that are needed in order to reach that goal. So what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the past you that's making excuses, that's not finding the time to do the things that you need to do to reach your goals? Or are you focusing on using God or source energy or whatever somebody wants to call it in order to be this person that would have already fulfilled those goals? Because you can only really do it one way. And the funny thing about the law of attraction is, I've written about it before, the law of attraction has the word action in it. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there looking for all the yellow things, well, what are you going to do when you see all the yellow things? How are you going to act whenever new opportunities come into your life? Simply because you have decided that you are looking for them. Well, that's what all this comes down to. This all comes down to, it's a spiritual quest. It's us trying to build our character and become the person needed in order to fulfill these goals. And so anytime anybody is trying to focus on this bigger, what almost seems like an unreachable thing, well, it starts with you. And it starts with who you decide to be, who you ultimately want to become. It's like Bob Proctor says, if you win the lottery tomorrow, I sure hope you learn how to become rich, before you lose all your money. Because the battle starts in your mind.
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill says, he says, what's faith without action? You can sit down and pray all you want, but if you're not acting whenever those opportunities come upon you, if you're not going out and creating opportunities for yourself, then the prayer and the affirmations and the repeating to yourself, I am successful, I am successful, I am successful, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter because you're not changing who you are.
Yeah.
And so I realized that my goals started being fulfilled once I started focusing on becoming a better person. And anybody's success doesn't come from them having some bright idea to create $1 million company. That's not where it comes from. Money comes from people. So if somebody says, oh, I have this idea for this $1 million company, I'm going to be a millionaire, they're not going to get as far as someone who says, oh my God, I have this idea for this very valuable thing that can help a lot of people's lives. And the byproduct of getting that thing out there is the fact that I could make a lot of money.
Right. I love that. All right. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of very important things. And you may want to help me out if I get it wrong or perhaps miss something. There are two important places I think everyone who's listening to us can find out about the work that Jason is doing. And one of them is the Smartr Marketing App.com. And in this case, Smartr is spelt SMARTR. Note it's missing a little E there. The Smartr Marketing App.com. And then the other one I think worth visiting is to learn about Jason Criddle and Associates is jasoncriddle.com, and Criddle is CRIDDLE. Does that sound about right?
That sounds good. And somebody can also download Smartr Marketing in the App Store, SMARTR, and then marketing, 2 words. And then somebody can also download the Jason app in the App Store. Yes, I have that name. But
Nice.
Just be aware that whenever you type in the Jason app, right underneath my name, you're going to see Jason Voorhees with the hockey stick, the knife, and that's not me. I'm I'm the one that's trying to brand. I'm not the one that's got blood dripping off the machete and the cartoon face. So,
well, best of luck with one of the latest ventures, the Smartr Marketing App. I am anxious to explore it a bit, and I anticipate that you and I and Jessica will talk a little bit more about it after today's conversation. And again, thank you for spending time with me this morning.
Yes, of course. I'd love a chance to come on and chat with you again anytime.
Sounds good. Thanks again for listening. If you like what you heard today, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Until next time.